Hey, welcome to The Sauce. The Sauce is a special episode concept by Subtitles. If you don't understand why I'm speaking English right now, please listen to the previous teaser I shared. More seriously, I think some things can only be expressed in English. And the goal of this series is to give a platform to like-minded humans so that they can tell us why they chose to work and communicate in English. If you just got here and you don't know who's talking, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Charlotte. I've been a content strategist for the past 4 years, and I recently moved back home to the Caribbean to finally live the life I was working my ass for. As a French Caribbean woman from West Africa, multiculturalism and speaking several languages was always part of my heritage. I still have some friends that don't speak French, and I thought sharing a bit of what I do in English could be the perfect way to make it more accessible to them. So this podcast is really all about me. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Arnaud Archimède from Whistle, the one and only digital incubator in the Caribbean. Hi Arnaud, and welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to The Sauce. How are you?
Pretty good. In the center of the city of Pointe-à-Pitre, you know.
Yep. PTP?
Yep.
Good. Could you tell me more about you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a designer and program manager, and I spent 10 years in Europe working for various industries. For example, I work for the autonomous car in Peugeot Citroën, luxury with Dior, public transportation with RATP, so French, insurances with AXA, for example. And I also help various startups in their first steps, you know. And the last I have in mind is African Puzzle. It's a tool to help West African craftsmanship to organize and manage their clients. And I'm recently back to my homeland, Guadeloupe, FWI, to found Whistle, which is the first online incubator supporting Caribbean entrepreneurs, including the diaspora, really important for me, with a design thinking approach.
Very clear. So some of you might have figured it out by now, but we're both native French speakers. So I guess my next question is, why are you speaking English, dude?
Okay, I was basically curious about Caribbean and European options that were provided in secondary school. And it was basically 2 or 3 hours of English to reinforce the casual program. Okay. So it gave me a strong Caribbean consciousness. And then during my student life, I had a lot of opportunities to strengthen it.
Yeah, I think it's particularly true for Caribbean students, like going to high school and stuff, because that's when you realize that most of the countries, islands that surround you don't even share the same language as yours, and that speaking English could be a way to connect with other people. But besides school, why were you interested in that particular language?
First of all, I had an experience abroad with the Erasmus program.
Where did you go?
You know it. I was in Barcelona, so not the perfect English-speaking country, you know.
They do hate to speak Castellano, no?
Yeah, they do. But I was with a lot of friends from all over the world, so I had to speak English all the time.
Okay.
My side jobs also were super important for this experience, this English experience. First, I am also a musician and graffiti artist and teacher. And I also had a job opportunity in the US to work as a prospective designer at Mazda, California, for example. So I had to be able to lead my interviews properly. And then I worked in an international startup, which name is Evaneos. So I was to speak English to my English speaker colleagues.
Yeah, so it was more a matter of necessity, like at first with your experience abroad during the Erasmus, when you had to make yourself understandable, basically, and then later on during your job. But what's that thing, that story that made you realize that English was a must-have in your skill set?
Good question. I could create a business making graffiti and street art workshops in Paris. And sometimes it was for international companies such as Red Bull, Adidas, Makeup Forever, as team building activities. Really fashion, you know, or with some individuals. And I had to share.
Individuals are good too.
Yeah, good too.
You look disappointed.
And I had to share 3 hours with up to 50 English speakers to teach them how to paint on a wall, ensuring their security and creating a positive atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I had no choice. And it was one of the best opportunities I had to make money practicing English.
Okay, was it American English or British one?
Oh, I don't know, just English, and I was just trying to express myself at first,
Yeah, but are you a tomato or tomato kind?
A tomato, I think.
Yeah. All right, American guy, I see you. What made a difference in your learning process?
Mm-hmm.
I know that for me, it was both a teacher that changed my life, which I mentioned in the previous episode, and realizing that shows like Gossip Girl, Skins were way better in English rather than with French voiceover. And it all just started with looking for videos with French subtitles and then moving on to English sub because I just couldn't wait. And it's still something that I do today. Oh, and my dissertation, which was closer to trauma because it was writing 15,000 words in perfect English. So yeah, what was that difference for you?
I think it was my abroad experience in an Erasmus context and more broadly during my years in the design school, So I realized that only French people will judge the way you speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I think as French speakers, we are harder than native English speakers and we build a lot of obstacles in our overall expression.
Yeah, it's so true. And do you think speaking English today is mandatory to really succeed?
It depends on what you want in your life. I won't be dogmatic, I think. And if you want to learn faster, access the best contents online, is your next trips, or be able to get a wider range of job opportunities, then yes, please speak English. Otherwise, if you don't need all this and feel comfortable with your French or other language skills, it's okay. And I won't blame anyone.
Sounds like you are, though. Sounds like the first option is way much better. I think it's particularly beneficial for Caribbean people because the diversity of cultures around us. I feel that speaking English is also an efficient way to know what's going on, get inspired, and connect with different people. Can you relate to this statement?
Definitely. And I think you'll be able to sing all international artist songs without letting an awkward silence when they ask you to sing during our local music festivals.
That's true. Moving on to your relationship with English, what's the best thing? Like the thing you love?
The thing I love. Feeling that many new doors can be opened and there is no need to have a perfect English to switch mindset.
Okay, what's the worst?
I still a Frenchie. So I still have an imposter syndrome sometimes when I have to talk in front of some people or to make a podcast, for example. But it's okay. And it's a good feeling to make more and more improvements.
All right. Well, that's very brave of you. And I would like to thank you again for trying this experiment with me because it's a first.
Yep.
So we don't really know where it's going, but we're going. How do you use English in your business?
English is the main language we use at Whistle, even inside the team, and our reports, meetings, studios, emails are mostly in English.
Okay. And what's the culture or country that impacted your learning the most?
I'm tempted to say that there is no culture or country in particular. Okay.
I don't know if that's true because, imperialism. Can we really avoid the influence of the States? And the fact that everyone was wearing Dickies 15 years ago, and that shit was ugly.
Yeah.
I bet he was American.
You're right. And comfortable too. You're right. I think US and Jamaica probably for the music and because of BET. Do you remember this channel?
Of course, I do remember BET. And I think it's the first, black entertainment I consumed other than Militia, which was on MCM and Sisters. And I felt like he was all about black culture and that it was a chance to have access to those type of channels. And when I moved to Europe, nobody knew BET. Nobody knew what I was talking about. And I was like, it's on cable. What do you mean? Yeah. But we definitely didn't have the same cable. I'm guessing like people from France, like they had some German and Spanish channels and stuff.
Yeah.
And because we were closer to the States, we had BET and MTV as well.
And we are lucky.
Yes, that was so much better. What was the thing that surprised you the most during your first conversation with a native speaker?
I think it was when I was 14 with a pal from Hungary, and I could discover our wonderful Caribbean accents, and I loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Was it on MSN?
Yep, it is.
What's your advice for those listening that really want to improve their English?
First, I think if you are a French speaker, don't care about other French people. They usually
Very
have
good advice.
Yeah, I think they have a toxic relationship with English. So
Yeah, with languages in general.
Yep. And secondly, I would recommend you to change your mindsets, to try switch your devices, default language to English.
Yeah.
For example, your Google Chrome, mobile phone, TV, etc. So you will face English every day, and this is already an important step.
Yeah, you don't get a choice.
Yeah. And the third one is just try to follow English-speaking pages on Instagram or TikTok, and it can be humoristic, of course, and find someone to share with them.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn. Well, that's actually it for today, guys. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this episode. Just like in Sauce Digital, Arnaud, I would like to ask you, who would you want to nominate for our next episode of The Sauce? I feel like I'm talking about a reality show.
I'm thinking of someone which name is Sébastien Célestine. He's an important actor of entrepreneurship in our territory, and he has interesting experiences first as a manager, and also as a tech company founder and Caribbean lover.
Noted. I am so grateful you who's listening. If you liked it, give it 5 stars or not, however you feel today. Recording this episode was so special to me because you guessed it. I love speaking English and I would love to connect more with like-minded people from the Caribbean and beyond. See you soon.